Welcome to the Craftsman interview. I am here with Larry Bloom, who is the brewmaster and owner of ZumBier in Waukegan. And we're going to learn a little bit more about his brewery and his beer. And I want to give a shout out to Smith Printing in Gurnee. They are our sponsor, and they do a wonderful job. Brian Smith runs a fantastic operation there. And I just want to thank Smith Printing for sponsoring this video, and let's just get started, Larry. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Lake Forest, Illinois, mostly.
Okay. And high school in Lake Forest, and college where?
College was at Drake University.
Great, great, okay. What did you do after college?
After college, I went through a couple jobs. I worked in a restaurant. I also worked at Allen Stereo, selling higher end stereo equipment.
Okay, all right, I'm familiar with Allen's. We found out that we have a mutual connection, my brother.
Absolutely.
And we worked together years and years ago, small world, so that's cool. So you left the stereo business and you started a business?
I started North Shore Painting in 1985.
Wow, okay.
And spent the next 28 years or so building that business and working with large crews of men and
great.
Really quite successful at that for a lot of years.
Great. And how did you get here? So it sounds like you either retired or maybe sold the business, or are you still in the painting business at all?
I still do paint.
Okay, great. So tell us a little bit, when did you get the beer bug? When did you start home brewing? Because I assume that you were home brewing before you actually started buying big tanks and things like that. Tell us a little bit about the name, ZumBier, and I'm interested in that logo as well. So tell us a little bit about that part of the journey. Okay,
well, I started like a lot of guys do, including Bruce from Tighthead and Danny at Light the Lamp, and I started with a homebrew kit that my wife convinced me to get so that I could practice homebrewing with my stepson.
Wow, that's cool.
And it went like a lot of things go for me. I advanced very quickly and deeply into the craft. I really enjoyed the beer that I brewed. And
great. What was your first beer that you brewed?
It was a brown ale.
Brown ale. What's your favorite? Do you have a specific style or kind that's your favorite?
I've advanced into much more hoppy, aromatic beers.
Okay.
And so that's what I drink a lot of the time.
I am drinking a really tasty beer right now. What is this stuff?
This is a beer that's in development. It'll be coming out soon. It's a wheat malt beer with zests from 5 different types of fruits.
Okay.
And so it's a very fruity aroma beer, but not a sweet beer.
Yeah, it's very good. I like the wheat beers, and it's got a great taste. Do you have a name for it yet?
This is called Uncle Annie's Zesticle, believe it or not. My friend John made the recipe and named it after his friend Ann, who is an honorary uncle to his daughters, and in order to honor the guy who made the recipe, I'm keeping the name.
All right.
It's a pretty risque name. But
yeah, it is. You got some explaining to do on that one, John.
Yeah, the explanation is in the flavor.
All right, great. No, it is zesty, and it tastes excellent. So thanks for letting me try it. Yeah. So North Shore Painting, you're still doing that. You home brewed. You really got into it. How did you get to Waukegan, and what made you take the leap of saying, you know what, I'm going to go commercial, or whatever the lingo is? When did that happen, and when did you start buying all the equipment that's needed to do this?
It's a two-part question. Waukegan, because I've lived in Park City or Waukegan my entire adult life.
Okay.
I really have a special place in my heart for the water in Waukegan and in the downtown area, which is right on the lake, and it's really a sort of blue-collar community that's way underutilized.
Yeah, I agree. I grew up in Zion, right down the road, right off of Sheridan Road. So
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean there.
Yeah.
So what gave you the leap to start buying equipment and really make a go of this thing?
Well, I went deeply into home brewing, and about 4 years ago, my father had a stroke on his way from work to duck hunting, and when I was in the ICU with him, I something sort of clicked. I thought, well, hey, I'm 50. I really need to make this change in my life happen. I'm not happy painting any longer. It feels dangerous and it's hard physically on my body.
Right.
And so I made the move to start applying for licenses and permits and
Wow.
and buying some of the precursory equipment that would allow us to be in business, and then finally talking to the city of Waukegan and talking the Waukegan planners and people through the process of making new laws for breweries.
Okay. So they were really helpful.
They were very helpful. It's since we're the first brewery since 1916. It was an entirely new process for the city. So we had to use examples like Tighthead's ordinance at the city to
right in Mundelein.
to help us get set up here in Waukegan.
Got it.
To know what wording is appropriate.
Okay, so you have a lot of beers right now.
Mm-hmm.
How are you distributing? When did you start, by the way? When did you open the doors for this?
Well, we sold our first commercial beer in March, and that's I would say that's where I would call it the kickoff of ZumBier.
Okay, so March of 2014.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Think about that.
Wow. I mean, I'm looking at all these beer bottles here and all these cool labels and different varieties. Are these a lot of the home brew recipes that you've been working on over the years? It seems like if you started in March, you work fast, man, because you've got a lot of great beers there.
Yeah. We've produced, we're going on 12 and 13 different beers that are original recipes.
Okay.
I have about 18 in my homebrewers book that were worked out and ready to go.
Okay.
And some of them went through multiple iterations before I was ready to say this gets my official blessing, and this can be a beer that people will enjoy.
So are you the master brewer then? Is that what the title is?
Yeah, you could call me that if you'd like.
Okay, all right. I don't know exactly all the lingo and everything, but
I'm a brewer. That's for sure.
Okay. Is there some kind of designation with that? I mean, like.
Well, I don't know. In Germany, it would be a title that would be conferred after an appropriate apprenticeship.
Okay.
And
that makes sense.
And the proper trade school.
Got it.
Here in the United States, master brewer could be any self-appointed title.
Okay. All right.
So I'm comfortable with calling myself brewer, and I'm working towards being a master.
Great.
I certainly enjoy it enough.
Fair enough. So tell us about the logo and the name. How'd you come up with it? And the little stick figure with the long hair, am I reading that right?
Yeah.
I love that. I dig it.
Yeah.
So what tell us that story.
Well, ZumBier means to the beer, or it's like saying I'm going. Zoom means I'm going, or to the, so destination beer.
Okay.
And my wife and I, who is German, she talked it over with me. We came up with a bunch of different German words and meanings, but we decided that since we were making a little bit of beer, we wanted to leverage the experience of meeting the brewer, working on the recipes, coming in to see us.
Got it. Okay.
Filling growlers, giving tours, and since we're foodies, doing food and beer pairings.
Nice. So that's a little bit about the future of what's happening.
That's what's coming.
Good. What tell me a little bit about the stick figure. What's up with that?
The stick figure I call ZumBierman. that was originally my creation.
Okay.
I had a graphic artist design the main part of the logo.
Okay.
And then since we're world traveler, we aspire to be world travelers and good world citizens. I put the ZumBierman, who is a Rastafarian, and he's doing a dance like a skank. It's
Right.
it's a exuberant dance that goes with ska music and reggae music.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
And it sort of symbolizes our wanting to celebrate life.
That's wonderful. So it sounds like you had a real moment. Can I ask how your dad is doing?
My dad is doing well.
Good, good.
He was in nursing care for about a year and a half, and
Okay.
then he moved with my mother to Florida, and they lived together in the St. Pete Beach
Good
area.
deal. Okay, so he overcame the
Most of
the
it.
stroke and everything.
Yeah.
What did you tell him? Did you tell him, hey man, you were my inspiration. I had a moment when I was with you. Did you tell him the story?
I have. He has a hazy memory of what happened when
Okay.
he was in the neuro ICU.
Okay.
But I bring him beers. He always enjoys them.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And I tell him that he was the reason why I decided that I needed to go for it.
That's a great story,
Yeah.
Larry. That's great.
Yeah.
So your wife has the German side, because when I saw the name of your beer and I'm like, Larry Bloom, this is another confused Irishman.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about the experience with where we're going with the brewery, what your vision is. What does the next 12 months hold? What does the next 3 years hold? You talk about food and food pairings. You talk about tours. You talk about this being a tasting room.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us more about that.
So in our original business plan, we had 3 prongs. We wanted to invite people in for retail sales in the house, into growlers, which are refillable half-gallon or quart containers.
Okay.
Inviting them on tours so that they get to know us and we get to know them, and that enhances their experience with the beer, and they can talk to us about it and find out what we were thinking and what we were shooting for. And,
Got it. Okay.
how
about the food angle?
That the other 2 prongs were tap sales and kegs, and also bottles.
Okay.
When we started in business, we were permitted by the federal and state agencies to brew beer, and we didn't have the local license yet because it wasn't ready for us. So we started packaging the beer and selling it to wholesale outlets like liquor stores.
Okay. And are you distributing that yourself? Can you do
Yes.
that? I don't know what the rules and regs on that are. I know there's a highly regulated business.
It is.
Alcohol.
It's
So
another license, but we're allowed under the brewer's exemption to distribute ourselves.
Okay. And you do that for the foreseeable future, or?
I will until I get to the size where we can support a distributor.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense. That
We
makes
have
sense.
we have one in mind
Okay.
that you may know, Fred.
Fred Losh. Okay. All right.
They're a good Lake County distributor, and
I would agree with that. I like
so once we can supply enough liquid for Fred to make it worth his while, then we'll start talking.
Got it. Cool.
Distribution.
That's great. Well, that's an exciting thing to work towards. Tell us a little bit about, have you done any events, or you got any events coming up? You know, beer goes with summer really well, and I know that a lot of small breweries, part of their marketing plans, and you talk about these experiences. Do you have any events coming up, or are you just kind of buckling down and just brewing in the warehouse? What's going on next summer at ZumBier?
Well, when we open the tap room, it will also allow us to do tours, food and beer pairings,
Okay.
and things like that in-house. What we're doing right now is going out and doing a lot of tastings on Fridays and Saturdays, and
Okay, where?
we'll do tastings at the beer stores.
Okay.
We recently had one at Beer Bazaar in Haynesville, and another one in Libertyville at the Craft Beer Store.
Yeah, that's a new store.
It's brand new.
Yeah, I've been in there twice. I bought some half-acre beer in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's cool.
those are our kind of people. They're local owners.
Okay.
And we prefer to sell to places that are more locally driven,
Got it. Okay.
where we know the owners and they spend their money back in the community, so it's a benefit to everybody.
It's a win-win for sure. Tell me a little bit about the food stuff. You said you're a foodie, or you and your wife
We are.
traveling, and tell us about that.
Well, my wife's a designer by trade, but she's a chef quality cook, and so she'll make food and beer pairings and all kinds of spicy exotic foods.
Nice.
And so a lot of our beers are designed to be culinary beers.
Okay.
So for instance, the wit beer will go well with fish dishes,
Okay.
salmon and things like that.
Are you in any restaurants around town yet, or is it more liquor stores at this
We're in
time?
a few.
Okay.
We're at Ad Lib Geo Cafe in Libertyville is a sourcing type of chef.
Okay.
Rick Starr, and they use our beers to be good pairs for foods.
That's great. That's great. Looking at my cheat sheet here. So we talked a little bit about the vision. Are there some key people that you want to give a shout out to that have really helped you along the way?
Well, right now there's two people that have volunteered their time up to this point, and they're really key members of ZumBier that are one is a chemist. Her name is Kelly Bilo.
Okay.
She's setting up a quality control lab here. She's also leading up the packaging department where we bottle and get things ready, and running a lot of quality tests to make sure that the beer will stay stable on the shelf.
Right. Right.
Jim Bush is a trained brewer.
Okay.
And he's working with us. He's pretty much spearheading the brewing effort and developing the mechanical operations of brewing.
Who's doing your artwork?
Mostly me. And
Really?
my daughter draws some of the design.
That is really great artwork.
I must say that it's by the time when it's done, I submit it to Julie Goldsberry.
Okay.
And she's a graphic design artist in Chicago, and
Got it.
she makes it look right.
Okay. Okay. Would you come up with the names yourself?
In case I didn't mention it, though, I should really say none of this could happen without the support of my wife.
Yeah.
If she didn't back me on this, there's just no way I could do it.
That's great. That's great. That's usually what you hear, right? I mean,
it's absolutely necessary, and if anybody thinks they want to start a brewery operation and they don't have the support of their spouse, then they're making a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll be sorry.
So along those lines, what are if you were to, there craft brewers are popping up in a lot of places throughout the country, and there's some wonderful stories. If you were to give advice to someone going into the business, a guy or gal that was really passionate about home brewing and they want to take the leap and start buying bigger equipment and get sort of commercial, for lack of a better term, with it, what would you advise them? How would you advise them?
Well, there's a number of things that need to be done to make you aware of what's involved, because homebrewing is a pleasurable experience. It lasts for about 4 hours, and the cleanup is fairly minimal. Here in a commercial brewery, we spend probably 80% of our time cleaning things.
That's interesting.
There's a lot of mopping and shoveling and hard, sweaty work, and we work in 100-degree temperatures in the summer and 55 degrees in the winter, I would recommend that they find a brewery near them and ask to be a volunteer worker.
Okay.
And shovel some grain and mop some floors and help with packaging.
Okay.
And see what it's really like, so that you can figure out if your personality is right for doing these kind of things.
So you talked about advice being, for anybody who wants to get in the business, is go volunteer and shovel grain and clean barrels and all the different equipment that's out there. Talk me through that a little bit. Did you do that?
I did.
Okay.
I travel back and forth to Florida to see my family when they moved there. And I would always plan side trips to little nano breweries, we call them, that are very small like us, and to see how their mode of operation works.
Okay. Okay.
And so I saw notable places like the Beer Brewery in Indianapolis, and I was able to adapt and learn from them how they do things and innovate my own operation that way.
So that was just part of the travel experience. Mm-hmm. You would duck into these places and.
Yeah, I spent some time at Pipeworks in Chicago. Okay. They were running Indigo or Kickstarter funded startup.
Okay.
And I could see what their trials and errors were, and
that's great.
I still access Garrett and BJ's mind to.
Okay.
And all the other microbreweries around Chicago have a forum where we exchange ideas and ask questions.
So how do you do that? I mean, do you meet periodically, or is it all online stuff?
We have an online forum on.
Nice.
It's a closed forum.
Okay.
Strictly for nano brewers. And
so do you consider yourself a nano brewer? I've
yes.
often been a little, is there a technical piece to that? Are you a nano brewer until you make so many barrels, or how does that work? Or is that just in how you identify yourself?
The official state and federal titles are defined by how many gallons of beer you make,
okay,
or how many barrels.
So
we're certainly under the microbrewery limit. We're very, very small.
Okay.
Nano brewery uses open kettle and open mash tun that's fired directly, the same, and a lot in the same way as a home brewer.
Okay.
Does things just on a much larger scale.
So where's, if you had, you know, your ultimate dream 3 years from now, 5 years from now, what does ZumBier look like? What are you doing? How big is this place? Or conversely, do you want to stay small and be very niche and that kind of thing? Or do you have ambitions to be, you know, I always think of Jim Cook, you know, mm-hmm. Samuel Adams. I mean, what a great story. But, you know, there's nothing wrong with also staying small. So where do you stand on all of that stuff as far as ambition and dream and vision?
Well, my philosophy, sort of, if you were to visualize it, looks like a still water and a stone dropped in it. So we want to be local first.
Okay.
Then once we saturate local, then we'll move out into farther and farther territories.
Okay. So local, I'm going to put you on the spot here if you're willing, Larry, because I know the community is pretty tight. Mm-hmm. You guys drop names. Whenever I talk to other craft brewers, I know Bruce at Tight Head. They mm-hmm. do a wonderful job. Great guy. Do you have a favorite local place that you enjoy going to for the experience, or you just absolutely love their beer?
Well, I grew up in Lake Forest and Lake Bluff, so Lake Bluff Brewing Company is on my path a lot of times.
Okay.
But we travel to wherever we think that we'll have a good beer experience. We're sort of picky. We don't like the standard beers. So,
okay.
For instance, we were in Chicago with Cletus Freeman at Fountainhead on Thursday night and enjoyed a really special selection of beers and really good foods, well-made foods that went with it.
So where is that located?
That's in Chicago. I think it's in Lincoln Park.
Lincoln Park, okay, yeah. Fountainhead.
Yeah.
What do you think of, I'm going to do a gradual build here. What do you think of Lagunitas, you know, coming in? They're huge. They got that place over in, I think it's Garfield Park. I've heard the tours are great. Mm-hmm. Is that exciting for this business, or is that sort of like that's a different stratosphere? Well, what do you think of that?
Well, Tony McGee is a Chicago guy.
Okay, I didn't know that.
He went out west and built his company, and then he decided he wanted to cut the distance that his beer had to travel to get around the country, and built on a huge brewery on a soundstage.
Yeah, that's
Over
awesome.
on the south side.
So,
And so he's not competition in my mind.
yeah, yeah. The thing that I hear from a lot of, actually, I was talking to a restaurant owner in Libertyville, and there were people in town, depending on who you talk to, that were saying, you know, there's too many restaurants, there's too many restaurants. And the common theme that I heard with him is the same thing I hear with craft brewers. I talked to Fred, I talked to some other people that are in the beer business, and they just say more is more. It's just better. It's not competition. So it sounds like you adopt that philosophy or have that philosophy yourself.
Yeah, well, I'm really person to person.
Yeah.
So I want to meet the people that are drinking our beer. I want to know what they think. If they have a bad experience, I want to know about that too, because we want to get better.
Yeah.
So my competition isn't really other brewers, it's myself. And it's the challenge of getting to know people who drink beer in a community that's pretty blue collar and tend to like the macro brew companies and light beers.
Right. That's where I was going next. Is what do you think of? I'll be honest with you. I pushed, and I delivered a lot of Miller, and I was around when Genuine Draft just came out, and man, we sold a lot of that beer. And now, you know, I drank a lot of that beer, and now I'm a little bit more sophisticated with my palate. I'm still kind of an ale and lager guy. I don't like the too hoppy. This has got great flavor to it, but the stuff when it starts to get really hoppy, I'm not quite there yet. Fred has actually introduced me to some good beer because he's in the know. But what do you think of the big guys? I mean, are you just kind of like, this stuff isn't beer? Or
they're a marketing machine.
Yeah,
they have
true.
A lot of money, and they tend to stay in the game. They're losing market share in the macro end of the business, and so they're continuing to stay in the game by buying craft brewers and absorbing them, and then sort of making it look like they're not in control, and tricking people into drinking craft brew per se.
Right. Didn't Budweiser just buy Goose Island or
But AB InBev bought Goose Island and 10 Barrel, and they own between Miller Coors, South American Breweries, and AB InBev, which is Belgian owned.
Right.
They own 300 plus brands that you wouldn't know or think of.
Got it.
And so anytime that the number crunchers at the big companies see a target that they can make theirs, then they buy them up and
do you think somebody's targeting? You think Tony McGee's getting phone calls from the big boys?
Well, Tony might, but Tony's he's an independent soul. If you've ever
I read
heard
in one
him
interview
talk,
with him. Yeah.
He is not afraid to tangle with the authorities, and that guy does what he wants.
That's cool. I love it.
Yeah,
I love
it's really admirable.
Yeah, that's cool. So a couple last questions, Larry. Thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to do this. This is a total blast. Thank you for the beer and introducing George and I to your beers and the audience. So I got to go back to the music piece. The Craftsman Cafe, that's really where we started and where our heart is all around music. So, you know, what album are you listening to? What CD? I don't know. What downloads are you doing? I'm an old guy. I'm still calling them albums. But, you know, you're talking about the Rastafarian guy. And so what kind of music are you into?
When we're at work, we listen to a lot of reggae and those kind of things. I'm sort of lazy with it. I put a station on Pandora and let it roll.
Okay. Yeah.
My musical tastes are more classic. I stopped growing into new music a few years back, but I really like Elvis Costello and a whole lot of the jazz genres that I picked up when I worked with Bill at Allen's.
At Allen's, he's a jazz. He's more of a traditional guy though. So are you you know, Miles and Coltrane and all that kind of stuff, or are you more
More acid jazz.
Okay, all right, got it. Well, thanks so much for your hospitality. Thanks for the beer.
Cheers.
And cheers. That's a wrap.
Want some beer, George?
No, thank you.